Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Today we're diving into a case that's
Oh yeah, this one is.
really kind of become the definition of our show.
It really has, hasn't it?
Jussie Smollett. Visionary
Mm.
or con artist?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
We've got a whole stack of articles that you guys sent in
Yeah, we got a lot to get through.
about the alleged attack, the trial, and then
The overturned conviction.
it is a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning. January 2019. Jussie Smollett, at the time a star on the hit show Empire,
Right.
reported being attacked in the middle of the night in Chicago.
It was a huge deal.
It was a huge deal, yeah.
At the time, it seemed like just a horrific hate crime.
Right?
He claimed that two masked men attacked him, yelling racial and homophobic slurs,
Yep.
put a rope around his neck.
Poured bleach on him?
The whole 9 yards?
Public outcry was immediate. It was intense.
I mean, it's hard not to be outraged by something like that.
Smollett playing a gay character on a show known for addressing social issues
Mm-hmm.
became kind of a symbol of the very real hate that exists in our society.
And people wanted to support him.
Yeah.
Celebrities, politicians, even Joe Biden, who was running for president at the time,
Right.
expressed their support and condemned the attack.
I think it's easy to understand why so many people were quick to believe him.
It was shocking.
Yeah, the details of the attack were absolutely shocking.
And unfortunately, hate crimes are a reality for a lot of marginalized communities.
They are, yeah. So the Chicago Police Department started investigating.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was right.
Here we go.
Cracks started to appear in Smollett's story.
Right.
The surveillance footage didn't quite line up.
That's never good.
No, it's not.
And then two brothers who'd worked as extras on Empire were taken into custody.
Oh, interesting. These are the Osindara brothers.
Yes, Abimbala and Olabinjo.
So what was their connection to the case?
Well, at first it seemed like they might be the perpetrators,
Right.
but they were released without being charged.
Okay.
And then the police dropped a bombshell. They accused Smollett of orchestrating the whole attack.
Wait a minute. You're saying Smollett paid these brothers to attack him.
That's exactly what they're alleging.
But what possible motive could he have? I mean, why would someone do something so outrageous?
Yeah, that's the question everyone was asking.
Right.
The police theory was that he was unhappy with his salary on Empire,
Well,
that he wanted to generate publicity.
to boost his career.
Exactly.
Okay, so this was all a play for a bigger paycheck.
That's what they're saying.
That's a pretty cynical motive.
It is, but they claim he saw this fake hate crime
Okay.
as a way to gain sympathy and leverage for his contract negotiations.
So did the police have any evidence?
They did. They found evidence that the brothers had purchased the rope that was used.
In the attack?
Yeah, and other items.
Okay.
And they claimed that Smollett had actually directed them on how to stage the whole thing.
Wow, so this is
A lot.
not a simple misunderstanding, not an embellishment. This was an elaborate hoax.
A calculated attempt to deceive the public.
And to exploit very sensitive social issues for personal gain.
Yeah, very messy.
Yeah. So at this point, Smollett goes from sympathetic victim to suspect in the eyes of the law.
Completely.
What happened next?
Well, the first set of charges against Smollett were actually dropped by the Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox.
Wait, dropped.
Dropped.
What was the reasoning?
It was a very controversial decision.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Fox cited Smollett's lack of criminal history, his community service, and that he was willing to forfeit his $10,000 bond
Okay.
as reasons for dropping the charges.
Okay.
But many people saw it as preferential treatment for a celebrity.
It does make you wonder
Mm-hmm.
if someone without his fame and fortune would have gotten the same
Sure.
leniency. Was that the end of it?
Oh, not even close.
Oh, no.
The public outcry over the dropped charges was huge.
It's a big deal.
People felt that justice hadn't been served. And there were allegations of political influence and backroom deals.
So what happened?
A special prosecutor, Dan Webb, was appointed to review the case and determine if further legal action was necessary.
Okay, so that's a sign that they were taking the allegations seriously.
They wanted to ensure transparency
Right.
and address the concerns of the public.
So, with a special prosecutor now on the case,
Things were about to get real.
yeah, a lot more serious for Smollett.
Yeah, and that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of our deep dive into the Jussie Smollett case.
All right, we'll be right back after a quick break. All right, so we're back, and we're picking up where we left off with Jussie Smollett.
With that special prosecutor.
Yeah, Dan Webb coming in. This was a big turning point, I think.
It really was. It showed that the authorities were really taking these allegations seriously.
They weren't messing around?
No, they wanted to make sure that the investigation was thorough.
Regardless of his celebrity status.
Right, and it really brought this issue of bias in the legal system.
Into focus. So did he uncover anything new?
He did.
Okay.
Webb convened a grand jury,
Right.
and they decided to indict Smollett on 16 felony counts of disorderly conduct.
16. Wow. Okay, that's a lot more than the initial charges.
It is.
So what exactly does disorderly conduct mean in this case?
So it means filing a false police report
Okay.
with the intent to cause public alarm and waste police resources.
So each count.
Each count represents a separate lie that he told.
To the police about the attack.
Exactly.
Okay, so each lie he told.
Could be a felony.
Wow, that really raises the stakes.
It does.
So essentially, the special prosecutor is arguing that he not only fabricated a hate crime,
Right.
but he did it in a way that misled law enforcement.
And wasted taxpayer money. So it's
Yeah.
a serious offense.
Smollett maintains his innocence throughout the entire trial.
He did.
But in December 2021,
Guilty.
he's found guilty.
On 5 of the 16 counts.
5 of the 6. Okay. So what was the sentence?
5 months in jail, 30 months of probation, a $25,000 fine.
Okay.
And he had to pay $120,000 in restitution to the city of Chicago.
That's a pretty hefty sentence.
It is.
What message do you think the judge was trying to send?
I think that the judge really wanted to emphasize that fabricating a hate crime is not a victimless crime.
Right.
It has a ripple effect.
Yes.
It can discourage real victims from coming forward.
Right, because they're afraid they won't be believed.
Exactly. And it diverts resources from actual hate crimes.
Which are a real problem.
A huge problem that deserves attention and action.
Yeah, absolutely. So Smollett staged this hate crime, and he was basically exploiting very real pain and fear.
For personal gain.
For personal gain. So it seemed like the case was closed.
It did.
But then, another plot twist.
This case is full of them, isn't it?
It really is. November 2024, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned Smollett's conviction.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta be honest. I was really surprised when I heard that.
Yeah, a lot of people were.
How is that even possible? I mean, the jury found him guilty.
You're right.
But then the Supreme Court overturns it. How?
It all came down to a technicality
Okay.
related to the appointment of that special prosecutor.
Okay.
They ruled that the second prosecution
Okay.
violated Smollett's due process rights,
Okay.
which basically means everyone deserves a fair trial.
So even though the jury found him guilty,
Mm-hmm.
the way the special prosecutor was brought in
Yeah,
invalidated the whole thing.
pretty much.
So what you're saying is the initial prosecutor's decision to drop the charges,
Yeah.
however controversial it was,
Uh-huh.
should have the end of it.
According to the Supreme Court.
Wow. This case really does bring up a lot of questions about the complexities of the legal system.
It does. And if justice was really served,
Yeah, you've got people who think Smollett got away with a crime.
right, they say the evidence against him was strong
Yeah.
and that a technicality shouldn't negate a jury's verdict.
And on the other hand, you have...
I'll see this as a victory for due process.
Right.
They're saying that regardless of his guilt or innocence,
Everyone deserves a fair trial.
and you can't ignore procedural errors.
Exactly.
It's a fascinating legal debate. But beyond that, this case has sparked conversations about race.
Yeah, privilege, the power of celebrity.
Some people think that Smollett's actions...
If it was a hoax.
Right, if it was a hoax, that his actions trivialized the experiences of real victims of hate crimes.
Absolutely.
That he exploited sensitive social issues
The personal gain.
for personal gain, and that's a serious ethical concern.
It is.
Yeah, but some are also concerned that this whole thing might actually deter real victims from coming forward.
Right.
They might not be believed.
Yeah, especially if they're marginalized.
Right, because of the skepticism surrounding his claims.
It makes the conversation even more complicated.
Yeah. So the Jussie Smollett saga really continues to raise more questions than answers.
It does.
And I'm curious to know what happened to the key players in this story after all the dust settled.
Yeah, where are they now? That's a great question. It is, and that's what we'll explore in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll look at where Jussie Smollett, the Osundero brothers, and everyone else involved in this case
Right.
are now, and how this experience has affected their lives. We've been through a lot with this case.
Never we just...
We started with that alleged attack,
The trial.
the controversy with the
Yeah.
charges being dropped.
Yeah, the overturned conviction.
It's been a roller coaster.
It really has. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious, where is Jussie Smollett now?
Well, he's kept a pretty low profile since his release from jail.
Yeah, I can imagine.
which, given everything that happened, isn't surprising,
No, it can't be easy to rebuild your life.
especially with that level of scrutiny.
Yeah, after being in the middle of such a public controversy.
It takes a toll.
But have there been any hints about what he's been up to?
There have been a few.
Oh, okay, give me the update.
Well, Empire creator Lee Daniels
Right.
has said that he'd be open to working with Smollett again.
He even called him a son in a recent interview,
Wow.
which suggests they still have a strong bond.
That's a pretty powerful statement of support.
It is, considering the backlash.
Yeah, definitely.
So it makes you wonder if Hollywood's ready to give him a second chance.
Right. Or if they believe in his innocence.
It's definitely a complicated situation.
And it probably won't sit well with everyone.
No.
So what about the Usendiro brothers?
They've also faded from public view.
Yeah.
I mean, they were right in the thick of it.
Yeah?
They faced a lot of scrutiny, too.
Right.
And they testified against Smollett.
Right.
So you can imagine they'd want to step back.
Yeah. Lay low for a while.
Exactly.
This case really impacted everyone involved.
It did.
What about Kim Fox?
The state's attorney.
Yeah, the one who initially dropped the charges.
Right.
How has this affected her career?
It's interesting. It doesn't seem to have had a lasting negative impact.
Really?
She did face a lot of criticism for how she handled the case.
Right, some even accused her of favoritism.
Yeah, because he was a celebrity.
And that decision really fueled the public outcry.
Oh, absolutely.
But she was reelected in 2020.
She was.
So I guess either the public moved on.
Or they felt that her overall performance was good.
Public opinion is a strange thing,
It really is.
especially with social media.
Things blow up and then they disappear just as quickly.
Yeah, they do. We can't forget about the city of Chicago.
Right.
They paid for the investigation.
And the trial?
I can't imagine they were happy about their resources being used for what they believe was a hoax.
Not at all. And they're still pursuing a civil lawsuit against him.
To get the money back.
Yeah, to recoup the costs.
Okay, so even though the criminal case is closed,
The legal battle continues.
it highlights how much it costs to investigate and try a fabricated crime.
And especially one that involves such sensitive issues.
This deep dive has been a wild ride.
It has so many twists and turns.
So many ethical dilemmas and questions about truth and justice.
And the power of perception.
It really shows how hard it can be to figure out what's real and what's not.
Especially with so much information coming at us all the time.
It reminds us to think critically, question everything, and approach these complex issues with nuance.
And empathy.
Yeah. And I guess sometimes the line between a visionary and a con artist.
Can be pretty blurry.
It really can. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Of course, it's always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep questioning, stay curious, and never stop searching for the truth.